In this video demonstration, I'm going to show you how to make a version of this card using the brand new John Next Door Baroque framework from the Christmas collection 2021. And this is beautiful the way that it raises up. You've got the ribbon threaded through. And I've highlighted this just with some of the Baroque snowflakes, which is a separate die that's available as well. I've also used in this one the square seam box to give this beautiful crisp sort of raised edge. You can see there's no foam tape or anything showing. It gives a beautiful elegant finish to a card. So to get started, I'm using a piece of white linen card from Crafts 2, and this is what I'm using through this entire video is the linen card. I'm also going to be using the Craft Artist, nearly got that wrong. I'm going to be using the Craft Artist waterfall glitter card in red and in silver, which has got a beautiful sort of waterfall effect to it. So those are the types of cards I'm going to be using, and I'm going to start with the square seam box. So obviously you can make this card without this, but I love the way that the box works. So what we're going to be using is this section, which creates the box for the front. So the first thing we need to do is to cut this. So I'm just going to tape it down, although I have got this cut. We'll just run this through and cut this, and this will give you a piece just like this. So it'll be cut with all of the score lines on it. And what we need to do is we need to make sure we fold all of those score lines before we do the next job. So follow the lines that are actually on the die. You'll find them there. If you push against it with your fingers behind, it will fold perfectly on the line. Just ease it on. And because the lines are already in the die, you don't need to emboss the die or anything else to get these. We're just folding those first, because once we've actually run this back through the machine, those fold lines will disappear slightly and make it a little bit harder. So that gives you a definitive line to work from. What we're going to do now is to bring in the Baroque framework. And you can see here, this die comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, and each one is designed to work separately or work together in different layers to make you lots and lots of different cards. And if you have a look on the Crafting with John Next Door Facebook group, you'll see an entire gallery full of cards made with this die. Loads of different ideas. I think there's about 40 or 50 different projects made with it. But for the start, we're going to be using the detail outside die, which gives us all of these ribbon thread lines, and the square in the middle to take the square out. So all we need to do is we're going to tape these together to start with. So take your low tack tape, take a long piece, pick up the square, hover over the center panel and tape it down until you've got both pieces stuck together. And then you want to put that evenly into the square in the seam box. And what you'll see is that it fits exactly. If I lift this off, you can see here, it's designed to fit this square seam box perfectly. So all we do is to run that through our die cutting machine and cut that. And once we've cut that, we will get this piece. So you can see here, we've got the aperture cut in the middle, and we've got all of the detail on the outside. And you may want to just ease that out. So use your pokey tool just to get any last minute bits out, anything you've missed. So I've missed a little bit there. And make sure that's nice and clean. There's a few little dots there, so we run our pokey tool down, which will just pop those out. Okay. Anywhere you've got a little bit of adhesive, if you feel over, you can feel where there may be a little bit of adhesive. I'm using a glue rubber just to take those away. So what we want to do now is to thread ribbon through this frame. That's one of the major benefits of this. So I'm going to take, here I've got a piece of sort of silver lurex ribbon. And to work out the size that you need, what you want to do is to measure a piece roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you want 5 lengths of that will be the perfect amount of ribbon, so you're not wasting any. And as this is lurex ribbon, this is quite hard. I can just cut this into a point. Just like that. If you're using a softer ribbon, what you want to do is take a little piece of sticky tape and just put that around the end, effectively making kind of a shoelace effect. So that's nice and tough now. And again, just cut that into a point, and I will use this one to show you, and we thread it through. So there are two ways you can thread this. So you can come up through the first hole and go down through the second, which means that you come back up through the first hole in the second set, and again back through the second, just like this. So I'm going to continue and just do one side, so up through the first, down through the second. And because this is die cut, these edges of the ribbon thread section are kind of chamfered, so they've been squeezed in. So if you pull the ribbon through, you're not going to cut or tear the paper. It's been designed to do that. So I'm going to go back through that one, back out through the first one, making sure it's not twisted at the back. If it does, just pop it back round and back through there. And then all I want to do is I would then pull all of this through, leaving a little tail to cover that star there. And you can see here we get the ribbon on the front, and you get a reflection of it, almost see through the little snowflake there. For the corner, keep it flat and straight, and take it back through, up through the first one again, down through the second, and continue on. When you pull it through, then you simply leave a little tail there. And if you're concerned or you want to keep that nice and neat and crisp, again, just take a little piece of sticky tape and stick that over the corner so that it's nice and neat. The other way to do this is to thread it the alternate way. So what we do on this one is we come up through, to start it, we come up through the second hole and we go into the first, up through the second hole. So I'll just pull that one straight. And then in through the first. And what that one does is gives you a completely different look. I'll just continue this on for a couple more just so you can get a better idea, because what this does is it covers over that little sort of snowflake aperture that you've got, giving you a totally different frame look. And this time you get more of a stitched ribbon look as you're showing more on the front. So just continue, just twist that straight. And it only takes a couple of minutes to do this. It's not as time consuming as you would think. And it depends on the ribbon. You can use a lot wider ribbon if you want to. And it will bunch up, and that looks quite beautiful, to be honest. You'll see here where we come, and that way I've got the stitching on the front. Now what I would do is I would take this back through into the first one, and I tend to pull this tight so that I get one little snowflake showing in each corner. So I've got that sort of swoop of ribbon there. So there's two different ways you can do this. But for this card, we're going to do it this way, the first way that I did it. And to speed things up slightly, here's one that I did earlier. So here I've got one where I've put the silver ribbon all the way through. And I've just got to the end here. So all I do is cut that off. And you may wonder, I did the 5 measurement for this, and I'm left a piece. But you do need to have a little bit longer than you need, otherwise stitching into the last 2 holes is quite difficult. And all I do again is just tape that down. You see here I've got a little bit showing on the front, so I just snip that out. Really simple. And that gives me a beautiful, crisp, finished threaded ribbon all the way around. So what we need to do next is to make up the box. Now, what we're going to do for this is we're going to use a double-sided or a power tape. I use the power tape by Craft Artist as it's the strongest tape I've ever used. And I'm going to put it on the front along one side. So this is on the front of the piece, because obviously it wraps round. So we go onto the front, and we do this on 3 sides. So on 3 sides, we go on the front. On the 4th side, we turn it over and we put the tape on the reverse, and the tape is always going on the last flap, on the outside flap. Now, to keep things neat, we put a little bit of tape onto each of the little tabs, and again, this goes on the front. It'll make sense when I start to put the box together as to how it works and the reason why we put one on the other side. So I'm just going around and going to put the 4th one on. Again, I'd already got this prepared, but I wanted to show you exactly how it works. Now, we want to put the back on. There are 2 ways to make the back. Included in the die is the front flap die. And this is designed with a flap so that you can have a folding open and closure on this. But this also makes the perfect back. So you can cut this in card and just cut off the flap, or for speed, using a guillotine or paper trimmer, cut yourself a 5-inch square. And again, I'm using the linen card. And to put the box together, I take the box piece and I lay it down so that the piece that has no tape on the front is at the top, and we start with the bottom. So I'm going to take the tape off, and then I'm going to take the tape off of the 2 tabs, and I'm going to take the tape off of the 2 sides. It's far easier to have most of the tape off to start with. Then we take our back piece and we line it to the bottom, and we attach it on evenly, there we go, to that bottom flap so that it folds neatly like that. Then simply take the side, bring the tab in and stick the tab down inside so that that is fixed. Fold in your other tab and bring the back even to, there we go, the side. And you can use your finger or a poker tool there, and you see there we've got a clean, crisp edge. This is perfect if you want to make this into a shaker card box. Put acetate on the front. Because of the tab, it's completely sealed, so nothing should leak out. So we return it the other way, and again we fold that little tab in and we adhere it. We fold our main side tab in. We take the other end and we pull it up until it's even and fixed, just like that. So we've got a completed square box. And you can see now why we put the tape on that side, because we're going to want to, when we finish, put those 2 tabs down and fold that over to seal it. And it's a lot easier to seal that piece on the back. So there is our square box made. So now we need to start on the insert. So for the insert piece, I'm going to use the other dies in the set. I've got some pieces here already cut. And what we're going to do is I will bring the die back in. And this time we're going to use the detail in the center, which is this die here. So once again, I've either used the back panel of the box or cut yourself a square to 5 inches square. I'm going to take this central panel and I'm just going to tape it down in the middle. So I'm roughly gauging it by eye. You can, if you want to, use a rule and measure it. You can actually work on your mat and just trying to make sure you've got the right gap. It's roughly a 2 centimeter gap all the way around. And I'm not putting the center circle or the center detail in. So the options with this die is you can cut it with that die in place, or you can have another layer going through with the circle in place. But this time I just want a flat background piece. And all we will do is to run that through our die cutting machine and cut that. Now, once again, I have a piece that I've already got cut, just to speed it up. So here we go. Just get that piece. So this is what we will get once we've cut that. So you can then decide what you want to be your reverse colour. And on this one, I've decided I'm going to go with the red waterfall card by Craft Artist, which is one of my absolute favourites. But if you look over the top, it just fits beautifully. It really gives a lot of sparkle and shine without having to use any glitter. So what we will do is we will spray glue this on, or if you don't like spray glue, you can use a normal wet glue. But for speed, I tend to use the spray glue. And I'm using Craft Mount by 3M, which is the only one that I use, because it gives me a complete permanent bond. And I just want to stick that down. Now, don't worry if you've got any little edges that come through, because obviously this will slot into our box. So I'll just show you. That slots into our box, so you won't see any of the edges. Okay, so we'll take that out because we need to finish that one off. So the next piece I want to cut is the actual circle, is the actual aperture. So I'm using the piece of scrap from the middle, and I want to use this snowflake star flower type design and the circle. So again, long piece of tape, pick that up, hover over till it's even, and I tend to, you can cut this anywhere, but I tend to cut it in the center. So you cut that in the center of the card, and you will get this piece. And you can see there the design works. So I would then take the circle, and you want to cut this from either the same or a contrasting color. So I've used the waterfall again in the silver, and I've cut a circle of the silver. So I'm mixing together this red, the white and the silver. And again, I'm going to spray glue the piece for speed. So I just want to stick that on. Just get it nice and even. And because you've used the same die as the outline on the circle and on the front, it works perfectly. You can see that, ooh, that it doesn't bring the red in. So what we actually do next is we cut the circle again in the red, or if you were doing this in the red and the base, you would do the same in the silver. So I've chosen the contrasting color, and I've kept the pieces of fall away, which are just the scrap or waste pieces. So all I'm going to do, take a little bit of glue glaze by Craft Artist, because this is a really easy glue to use. You've got the little brush on the end, so I'll just get a fresh one of those. You can see there, and it's completely flat. And because it isn't PVA based, it's almost like a solvent based glue, it will hold extremely quickly and extremely well. In fact, some of those will possibly dry before I get them in. So I'm using a jewel picker tool, pick up my piece and just drop it in. So really simple. And obviously when you're doing this without video and you're doing this on your own, it's really quick and simple. Obviously, because I'm doing it for a video, then everything tends to go wrong, but that's pretty much standard, to be fair. So I'm just dropping each piece into the place, and you can see now how it really starts to make that beautiful sort of flower in the middle pop. And I'm not massive on paper piecing, but there are areas like this and times like this where it just works absolutely perfectly, and it's so quick that it's worth it. I mean, I'm only actually sticking 7 pieces in, so we'll just drop our star into the center. There we go. So you see now how that pops an awful lot more, and it will bring in the silver on the front. So I'm going to use just a little bit of foam tape, across the back, and I'm using 2mm foam tape or foam pads. I like depth, but I don't want too much. So we'll put that there. Take off that protection. And just put that into the right place. And that will work exceptionally right. So all we need to do now is to pop this into our box and seal off our box. So I would use a little bit of a wet glue on the back, as this is repositionable. If you use a tape at this point, you can stick it very easily in the wrong place. I'll show you what I mean. So we bring our box in and we want this panel to go in. So all I do is with the wet glue, I can just drop or slide that in. With tape, it can have already grabbed. So once I'm happy, pop my finger in and place it in the right place. All I then need to do is to seal the box. So take the tape off each of the little tabs. Take the tape off the back. And I simply fold those two tabs in, fold that over, and fold that panel over, pressing from the inside. And you see now I've got that beautiful, let's just get that crisp line, there we go, that fold right, there we go. I've got that beautiful ribbon threaded with the red in the centre. So we just need to finish decorating this and almost make it into our finished card. So I've got a larger card here, which is a 7-inch white card blank. And I've matted and layered on at 6 inches white, and then I've put a little bit of the red and a little bit of the silver. So the layers are 6 inches, or sorry, 5.5 inches, 5 6/8, 5 3/4 for the silver. Really, really simple. And all we do, I'm using the power tape because I really want this to stick. So I'm putting power tape at the top and the bottom. I'm then going to use a wet glue so that it properly welds. I'm using the Craft Artist Super Tacky Glue. Which gives us that little bit more wriggle time and movement. We then pop that on to our card. So we've got our finished card base done. And all I've done is I've used the Baroque Snowflake die plate, again new for Christmas 2021 from John Next Door. And I've cut this in the silver and in the red waterfall card. And I'm simply going to again use my glue glaze and bring that red colour out and the silver by just delicately decorating the card with some of these snowflakes. So I'm going opposing corners. You can see how the box really gives you a beautiful 3D look to it. Would help if I actually put some glue on. There we go. I'm going to take a couple of the smaller silver snowflakes and pop those into the centre. Just again to bring that colour through. And you'll find with the snowflakes, they use so little card, but you'll have more than enough for 2 or 3 cards in just one pass because you don't use too many. So I'm going to use some of these little designs that echo the centre just to bring it together. And again, hold it on. You take that little bit more time at home than I do. I'm far too impatient when I'm making a video. Plus, I'm very aware that it's taking your time to watch, so I don't want to steal too much time. There we go. And I'm going to add on the other side. I think we'll have a silver one. There we go. Just attach that one on. And perhaps a tiny little red one on the other side just to balance it out. And again, you could spend a lot more time decorating it, adding different snowflakes, adding different flares and things into that. But that's the basic principle of making this one. So you can see there, hopefully we've got a beautiful decorated card. Here's the one I did using the satin card in the blue, and I made this slightly larger, but it's exactly the same principle. So changing your color and your size, the amount of decoration, starting to add some little gems on to finish it off in places, would look absolutely beautiful. But that's how we make that card and put it together using the beautiful new Baroque framework die from John Next Door Christmas 2021.